Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2, with arguably the most creative player in the game. Spawning as Zerg, playing as random, in the blue. It's Thermal. Up against one of the best Protoss players in Europe in the red, we have Geralt. In a best-of-7 Protoss versus Zerg showdown. It's part of Homestory Cup 28. And... what? Oh, the 7 best cheeses that Thermal pulled off in Homestory Cup 28. A $10,000 tournament in person. So before we get started on this special video, it'd be awesome if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. And we got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Thermal's doing his video tomorrow. 1,792 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I can do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As Thermal starts things off with an early pooling gas, and Geralt with the probe to scout it. Already a spicy start, though it could go almost any direction. As the probe, not even an attempt, a second gas. You have my curiosity, but now you have my attention. This, well, one, this is not done. All right, it's a bold move. We'll see if it works out for him, but. Is this a lair rush? He's not building a roach for it. So, it's not just your dime a dozen roach all in. Okay, they're not very common, but they're certainly not rare. But rushing to lair is definitely a bit more of a scare. And some might argue is somewhat unfair. But you shouldn't live in fear. Please clap. Well, Geralt, a single Zergling will nibble on the probe. At some point, he might notice there's no Zergling speed. And, oh, he saw the second... it's just a lair. Well, the first probe will eventually be hunted down. A second probe is sent out. And a single Zergling may chase it. So, without a Roach Warren on the way... Nidus? Spire? This is not done, by the way. It's... If Geralt can figure out whatever this is, doesn't really matter too much what it is. But if he figures it out, any sort of early lair tech, it should be shut down incredibly easily. But of course, the element of surprise is a strong one. He saw the second... Hey, no! You shall not... Oh! The queen body blocks the probe! Get off my creep! Right, Susan? Susan? Hello? I'm all alone. We're all alone. Sorry, I blacked out for... Swarm host Nidus on one base. I think you're gonna hear a lot of pauses today of me trying to interpret what I'm seeing, because I'm so used to a certain range of builds. Like sometimes you got step 1, step 2, step 3. Sometimes step 3 comes before step 2. But instead of doing some sort of square dance here, this is more like a monster truck derby, where here comes Thermal. Oh, by the way, I kind of glossed over the fact that instead of going by his given name, Thermal, mark that down, he's going by Rat Gameplay in an official tournament in person, which certainly evokes a vibe. Just like a Nidus worm inside of your main, and some people might like it, but Protoss usually do not. They've talked about orifices before. The queens, we've arrived. Thank you, Susan. The queens fighting the Void Ray, but they're surprisingly good against it. Oracles actually have more DPS, and, well, get a toe on the creep. One of the queens is badly bruised, but the locusts are coming in, and not able to stop the first Nidus worm. One queen gets taken out before the other. She had enough energy for transfuse, which is a little rude. The queen pops into the Nidus. The swarm host trying to do so, but citizens arrest. The probes will box them out of the Nidus and chase them down. 8 probes dead. Geralt only has 21, but he has 2 bases, so he can recover quite quickly. There's still a long time. Run! The swarm host, no, one gets taken out. But the locusts have recharged and will pop off the back. The Zealot is only marginally faster than the Swarm Host. A not so fun fact for Protoss players out there. It's still a lot. Wait, That Stalker gets taken out, and more Locusts down the center. There's an Oracle. One of the Zealots made its way across the map and will kill several drones, but the Locusts break through the front. What? The Swarm Host lived! The Brood Mother who lived. Well, the Zealot will eventually take it out quite painfully. The Void Ray gonna take out the Nidus. The Oracle. Is there a Queen in there? Oh, no, there were two. Amazing how much you can fit in that Nidus Worm. Oracle takes some real damage. Probes, but again, the Swarm Host screams into existence, but this time unable to pop anything out. The Overlord gets taken down, and Euthermal is quickly running out of options as Geralt is shoring up his defenses. There's only a Void Ray, an Oracle, 3 Stalkers, and a Zealot. And the Oracle now, a strong gust of wind, or even a light gust of wind, might knock it out. The Knitting Needle's nearly killing it. Meanwhile, the Queens and the Void Ray's still charged up, which means it's slowed down. Transfuse, maybe, for the... he's just marching forward. The only anti-air to ground is the Void Ray, and the Locusts are coming in. The wall is being torn down by the admittedly less than reliable Locusts. And again, the Queens are getting down. Yeah, the Queens are getting hunted down. And one of them gets knocked out off creep, but another Nidus in the main. 8 probes dead. Oracle looking for a stasis, which seems like a temporary solution. Queen pops out. Only thing that can technically do damage here. And, well, things are certainly... oh, the stasis almost completely stops Euthermal's mining. He's down to like 7... wait, there's still a Swarm Host. How does this keep happening? 8 kills on the Swarm Host, 3 Zealots chasing, another Zealot, Swarm Host pop out, Queen again, more Queens incrementing out, another Nidus, another Nidus, and another one. Wait, 3 Zealots. The Swarm Host is successfully distracting 3 Zealots. He's not even on a shift command, he's manually microing it. Meanwhile, the Queen's coming down the ramp. He stopped this attack. Both Nidus is taken out. And I guess we'll just macro it out from here. GG! No! Geralt wins by that much, but also by a lot. Well, of all the games I've ever seen, that was certainly one of them. All right. And now, Euthermal. I have no analysis. Usually I like to do the post-game analysis and break down the pros and the cons. And anyways, game 2. We're just going to put the score on his opponents. I don't even know how many different opponents are included here today. But we have 7 cheeses. And so far, unfortunately, that one spoiled a little quickly. It looked like there was potential. But at some point, the Queens were whittled down, and the gateway count got barely high enough. So, introducing our newest Protoss player, the Korean Protoss Nightmare. There's a drone. This time around. So, it's very important. Euthermal is playing random, and he's not telling his race, which on the ladder might be a bit of a dick move, but it's your prerogative. And it looks like Euthermal is trying to use this as a competitive advantage, which, you know, you would think that random should have that. It's more of a philosophical question almost, as practically it hasn't been effective enough to encourage players to take advantage of it in the past, but the probe will come in. Now we saw from both Geralt and Nightmare just hedging their bets by walling at the natural. It's pretty good against Protoss. It's obviously the ideal against Zerg, and it's manageable against Terran. So even though they don't know what race Euthermal is playing, they are hedging their bets. And now Nightmare has realized there's a severe lack of hatchery as the alarms are sounded. There's a hatchery just casually chilling. Is this a spine crawler rush? Huh. He's not sending drones and he has gas, though. Which A Roach Ward on the way. Okay. Starts it immediately. Gonna start a Queen on the other side. Some real rat gameplay so far. So aptly. Burrow! A burrowed Roach Rush, which actually might... This is the most rat gameplay strategy so far. There's only been 2 strategies, but still. The larvae are getting taken out, which is actually harming Euthermal's chances of making a lot of progress here pretty significantly. Does he inject the hatch or just try to keep the queen alive? Doesn't want to waste any time. But yeah, trying to save the larva. Ditsa swings around for the last inject of her life. Not a bad way to go. Oh, nope. The Overlord dying would actually be quite a blow, considering how low the economy is right now. Very slow! The Overlord gets taken down. Burrow's not done. The Roach is taken out. This is certainly off to a less than ideal start. There is no detection, of course, for Nightmare. He's just focused on the gateway units, because who goes Burrow? Burrow is done. Can micro the Roach away. He's going to try to dodge the shots. A Queen comes out and inject very optimistically on the hatchery, but multiple shield batteries on the wall. And I feel like this is getting torn apart before it could ever come together. A few more Roaches on the way. And, well, so the burrowed Roaches regenerate more quickly, which is what he's, and the fact that they require detection. There's a Robo on the way, but so far, Euthermal has only lost the 1 Roach before Burrow completed. So, unfortunately, 3 shield batteries and half a dozen stalkers, maybe 2. Well, he gets 1. Gonna micro back, a great micro on those Roaches. And Protoss have no way to repair that hull damage. So, it's... Oh, no, not another Overlord. More like a Noverlord. It's not enough. The Observer's gonna come out. And unfortunately... GG! Once detection is on the field. Another Euthermal special. You know what? I'm gonna spoil it for you. I asked Euthermal about his any sort of insight into his builds. I know he's doing a video, obviously, where you're going to get a lot more. But he wanted to do that build on Celestial Enclave, the map where you can get a little worker behind and get into the base. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him. Nightmare vetoed that map, probably because facing random players on a map where they can get workers into your base uncontested for the most part is not something that sparks joy. So, unfortunate. Doesn't work out, but if there was ever an opportunity for Game 2, I'm not actually sure that was the order, but for Game 2, Euthermal as his native Terran in the blue. Quite an early SCV scout. Like, a really early... Meanwhile, Nightmare scout at the beginning of the game as well. Remember, there's a chance he could be... Well, he's random. So, and I think as Protoss especially, you're very well justified to scout this early into the... Where are you going? Sure. Proxy Rex. You know, just around. A gas on the way. Nightmare is going to, again, there's going to be a severe lack of buildings in Euthermal's base. So he should be able to do the basic math there. And is he going to scout it? He knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. He adjusted the scout path. He didn't see it. Because why would you put it? That's barely a proxy at all. The probe scouring. He's gonna see it. He sees it! There's a tech lab on the way. But this doesn't necessarily end the danger. He was able to finish the racks. Oh, prevents him from slapping down an engineering bay. I think he cut a probe or two there. And, well, the SCV gets in. There's a Marauder on the way. No concussive shell. A factory in production back at home. And Nightmare making sure the gas can't get blocked either. The concussive shell is being researched. It doesn't make it that much less dangerous just because it got scout. I mean, it certainly decreases the chances of being a game-ending move, but it's just one barracks. I don't think this ever was intended to be a straight-up all-in with Marauders, and it certainly isn't now, but the Zealot trying to box out for the shield battery as, again, Nightmare gonna juggle the HP of everything. The Marauders. What? That's a... Okay, a starport. Just whips another building out. And of all the buildings to proxy, the starport... Well, the starport builds faster than any other Terran production facility. Significantly so. But... unfortunately, in building it so close, he's kind of giving it away. But, you know, maybe that's like a somewhat subtle counter by getting him to overreact. And he went so far, he actually ends up losing a Stalker and a Zealot. It only kills one Marauder, and the Hellion will be repaired by that Hero SC. Big job, huh? I guess. I gotta... A medevac on the way. And Nightmare's only been working off one gate. So... he's only gonna have a few Stalkers. Which is not enough to deal with an equal number of Marauders, let alone anything else, let alone medevac with the ability to heal. So, actually, in Nightmare realizing this just a split second too late, as Euthermal already dropping out and starting to heal the Marauders, he can save it, juggles it in, down goes one Stalker, there's a shield battery producing in the main. Warp Gate's only halfway done, juggles in, oh wow, he juggles in the Hellions, which means the probes can't save him either. The probe's getting incinerated. And oh no, Nightmare. Right now is, this is himself at the moment. The probes. Now Euthermal has more workers. The rat gameplay with the medevac. And a Liberator is about to complete to add more injury to injury. Can use the Liberator to zone out the front with the shield batteries, and if they get anywhere close, the Marauders will break the knees of the fragile Stalkers. And Chrono boosting a Warp Prism. I don't know if he thought about an Immortal and then decided against it. Trying to target the Liberator. Gets it. Shield battery's drained. Don't know if he has enough energy. He doesn't have enough energy for recharge. He doesn't have enough units for not dying, and a Warp Prism isn't very good when it comes to the DPS, especially if it never comes out. The Robo is depowered. Somewhat ironically, the Warp Prism could repower it if it actually finished. And Nightmare doesn't have the economy, doesn't have the units. He does snipe off the medevac, but it's too little, and it's too late. Oh no. A disaster. Euthermal will successfully, despite putting all his cards seemingly on the table, Nightmare just couldn't figure out the right hand to beat him. It's that sort of convoluted scenario when you know so much, you actually outplay yourself. If Nightmare just sat back and turtled up, he could sit back. He went out of his base. He lost a Stalker, he lost a Zealot, and eventually, yada, 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 he lost the game. But let's not reduce my entire job to that, all right? There's very important commentary in between. Euthermal's got one on the board. The commitment. I'm not sure exactly what his challenge was, besides going even further out there in a real tournament with real builds. Actually planning it ahead. Knowing that it's kind of unlikely that he's going to have a ton of... Wow. The Triple Crown. Which is what I call playing all 3 races against someone on the ladder. Well, beating them, ideally. But Euthermal, for the first time, spawning as Protoss, and for the first time, a Protoss deciding they're going to do a hidden barracks build. He's doing a Maca gate here. The Maca racks used in Wings of Liberty, where you build your barracks like outside your base, so people freak out thinking you're a proxy, and then you just float it back home. So you get all the benefit of them freaking out, and without the risk of actually having your barracks across the map. But Protoss buildings, and this is a major design flaw, they can't fly. So, I mean, he's just building it in the natural. Which, is Nightmare convinced this is a proxy gate, is the question. For the 3rd time out of 3 against Nightmare, Euthermal will not be building any of his buildings or his early buildings in his main base. But, well, okay, so oh, well, all right, Euthermal realizes he needs a cyber core, and he can't actually stop the probe from scouting it. Which I feel kind of undercut a lot of the... Well, Protoss versus Protoss is well known to be a psychological clown fiesta. And this certainly is well in line with that description. Not that Nightmare really did anything differently. Though, he did for the first time. That does beg the question. So, actually, why did he put the first pylon? I'm actually going to go back at the beginning and see if he scouted before laying down a first pylon. Because he put the first pylon on the high ground, which he hasn't done in any other game this series. So I'm not sure if Euthermal either told his race or picked one before the game, which would be kind of crazy as well. I just assumed he was playing random, but that may not be the case. Now, there's some value to just kind of picking a different race each round and throwing your opponent off. Of course, the amount of extra practice for most players that seems to require is what is keeping that from being a regular thing, with Clem being the only exception on any sort of competitive level. So, there are 2 probes. Wait, there are 2 stalkers and a probe. Pretty much Nightmare this entire... Yeah, this is PvP in a nutshell. In a single screen, we have Euthermal proxying a robo in the random corner of the map. We have a proxy pylon. On the other side, stalkers are fighting. Stalkers inside Euthermal space. As the other stalkers will stalk them in turn. As the wheel turns and the jerk circles. Well, he's gonna snipe off some probes because there's no shield battery done yet. He recall, like, what is this? Top 3 of the saddest recalls of the week. I guess he gets one. Oh, and now we're just gonna put a pylon in the main. Sure, just slap that one down. Good feng shui there. Space already proven to be accepting of pylons in it. Meanwhile, Euthermal is rallying across, and he may accidentally scout Nightmare's pylon. How fortuitous. Unfortunately, that is not the most dangerous pylon. The most dangerous pylon is the one currently warping adepts into Euthermal's base. Nightmare, with his slightly more subtle, yet still incredibly dangerous cheese. And the lack of anything at the front means that the probe can come and go as it pleases. And the adepts in the main. Meanwhile, Euthermal is actually using that immortal in order to blast his way through the first pylon. And this is the awkward part about walling off in PvP, is that your own buildings prevent your units from getting an angle. Oh, Nightmare helps out. Meanwhile, the adepts have slaughtered. Euthermal has barely more probes than he started with, but the gateways are dying. Is there another immortal? One more immortal. 2 immortals for both sides, though, and Euthermal does not have the economy to maintain production. Nightmare doesn't have the production to maintain at all. But he can keep pumping out immortals, whereas Euthermal, I don't think, has that, not nearly as easily. 13 to 25 workers. Meanwhile, the Adepts are chasing one another across the map. There's a probe over here for some reason. There's a probe over there for some reason. There's more units warping into the main base. Gonna force the issue. Throws out a force field. Gets one of the Stalkers. Still 2-on-2 in the Immortal count. Adepts chased. Mineral line under fire. Sentry on the low ground. Another Adept trying to save itself. But Euthermal is running out of options and running out of probes, more importantly. He has to make something happen. If you are on a stable economy, containing them at the top of the ramp is plausible. But unfortunately, he's denied that option. A force field from, we're going to call it Nightmare. Meanwhile, the Adepts slaughtering probes on both sides. He might be able to juggle up to, there's enough energy. Well, okay, we're juggling. He gets a force field, Adepts again. Back to the front, juggling Immortals. Gets 2 up to the high ground. Up and down, and the shield battery's out. 3 Immortals to 2. Juggles back, tries to target the War Prism. Retargeting, recalculating, warping in. Single Stalker can take out the Prism. Doesn't do so. The Immortal count dwindling. And yeah, well, somehow the Warp Prism lives. Euthermal does not. And in the best of 3, by a surprisingly thin margin, Nightmare takes it. I do want to just real quick go back and... Now, Euthermal may explain in his video. But this game, it working out. I think he may have just picked race or told him right before the game started in the countdown. Unclear, but very lucky for Nightmare that he didn't get caught on the low ground. And also that Euthermal kind of forgot he had to build a cybercore, I think. As he just led the probe by the nose to his proxy. Well, off we go. Through all the fire and fury to yet another match, because we still got an ad quota to fill. And I kind of wanted to try this more compilation style video. Who doesn't love those? No, maybe not on this site, but introducing. Now, for the first time, we have Lambo of Team Shopify Rebellion, called the Overmind, and well known as one of the smartest Zerg players in the game. Not always able to keep up with his strategies, which is what holds him back a little from being on that same level as Serral and Raynor, but actually kind of coaching them in the past. Meanwhile, Rat gameplay, again as his native Terran, in the blue here on Old Republic. Ah, yes. Beautiful. All the buildings on the side of the map you might expect them to be in a more standard game. Well, I assume something happens, and that's why this video is here, but who knows? Might just be a standard TVZ. Whatever that looks like nowadays, as we have several different philosophies competing at the moment between Bio and Mech. And for Zerg, between the Lurker Infestor late game and just the Masked Hydroling Bane. And I always want to say Mutas, but it's almost never Mutas. Disappointingly. Second Barracks. All right. Not nearly out of the question. Still a very common style. Though no third command center. So probably more focused on the early pressure. Meanwhile, Lambo sneaks the drone out to dodge exactly what this Reaper's trying to do. As always. The give and take of the early game where the Reaper comes in and shoots a bunch of Zerg units. The Zerg units are like, no, don't do that. And then the Reaper says, I will do that. And then they just kind of do that for about 20, 30 seconds. And otherwise, unless somebody makes a big mistake, no one dies, but they're all just kind of annoyed. Which is Anyone's ladder experience? Anyways, like and subscribe for constant anxiety and existential dread. No third base. Factory's on the way. The Overlord might actually get a glimpse of this well before you, Thermal, would want to give that information away. And we'll be gliding in. Sees the tech lab, but he has to know that's a barracks, right? Reasonably sure, based on the factory timing. Lambo actually gets kind of hard supply blocked off it, and the Reaper jumps in at another inconvenient time. Doesn't quite get a pick off. The Zerglings in the natural. But enough Marines to ward them away, which, if the Marine count earlier didn't give it away already, certainly confirms for Lambo that this is going to be the more biologically based strategy. Starport, where are you going? Come back. All right. Thought he was going to do something weird with it, but the reactor's on the way, just waiting patiently, as maybe it was a little bit on the later side. Get off my creep! Yeah, you got him, Susan. Yeah, I did. I did. I did good. Yeah. Oh, don't be so patronizing. Did you say Patreon? Like people see in the description? No, stop it! I don't... Sorry. I blacked out for him. It's an old build, but it certainly checks out. The 2 medevac stim timing. The 2-1-1 that be unpopularized in almost a decade ago at this point. The 3rd command center is on the way, but making sure he can put on his... What? Okay, there's 2 medevacs going out, but there's also a 2nd starport. And a fusion core! As you Thermal is intent on tactical jumping around the tech tree. Make no mistake, this is a battlecruiser swerve. But right now, like, he's so far down the Marine medevac path, and he's gonna do a U-turn all the way back towards battlecruisers, or at least swerve off onto a not even close to parallel tech path. Now, it will certainly be unexpected. Lambo's building 3 spores, but that's just making sure that there's no crazy follow-up, and having the spores is useful against the medevacs. Not too surprising to see. What is surprising, the lair is done. Any Evo chambers? No, just now starting. Lambo mass drones, later upgrades, but not a single inkling indicating that he has any suspicions about battlecruisers. The Queens. Don't. I didn't. Don't! Queens will not be able to stop the Marines from delaying the 4th. He goes for the one down the center. There are 2 battlecruisers on the way, which the flying laser bathtubs are a lot to contend with. There's no Spire. There's no Hydra Den. The Queens are scattered all about. The Spore Crawlers are repositioning to deal with the medevacs, so clearly not anticipating, say, some capital ships tactical jumping into his mineral line. And the medevacs trying to drag the Queens out of position, and mostly successfully doing so. The battlecruisers will jump! And directly into the main, the Spore Crawler repositioned, which will help get some damage done, but the knitting needles barely scratch the paint on the battlecruisers. A Spire starts immediately. The incredible, well, not really panic, but the alarms are sounded, and the emergency response. The Queens, though, the Queen's moot comes together, and Queen together strong. Somewhat ironically, but Marines dropping out on the low ground will be covered by the battlecruisers. Or at least they were told they'd be covered by the battlecruisers. Unfortunately, in practice, that didn't work out so great. More spores on the way. The Spire is halfway done. but clearly caught completely by surprise, bamboozled by the bio. But unfortunately, Lambo will plummet to a 20-worker lead. So, while these battlecruisers were clearly completely unexpected, they were partially unexpected because it was so late in the game that Lambo can almost shrug them off. They are an incredibly annoying obligation, but not something that is particularly dangerous, at least at the moment. Thing is, you do have to risk 2 more battlecruisers jump in. The Natchery under fire. The Spire is spotted. 1 queen targeted down. But the battlecruiser taking terrible, terrible damage. Meanwhile, the main base, the battlecruiser targeting the lair, not helping out the Marines. He will pick up and get out the Spore Crawler. He needs to jump. He needs to jump. Jumps away. Gets back home. Meanwhile, one of the battlecruisers was taken out. The Corruptors will challenge it. And tactical jump still about 40 seconds out, so 17 drones on the way. Lambo will immediately replace everything he's lost. Meanwhile, the Marines, no cancel on the base to the north side. And Uthermal has 66 SCVs, and he's got a few more Rex on the way, quite literally. Going up to the Octo Rex, he swerved back into the bio build after the foray into battlecruisers. A detour. Medevac getting chased to the ends of the earth, and then the Corruptors just giving up on the idea as the more relevant Medevac in the main will eventually be picked. Yikes. Even a drone is had enough. So, Lambo has rolled with this well. He's responded. He didn't panic, though he was clearly caught off guard. And he has 84 drones, 5 bases, but he's just now getting an infestation pit. A contaminate on the +1 infantry weapons is quite helpful as well. Uthermal never went for Yamato cannon, which means that the battlecruisers are still a threat, but not nearly as much so. He ended up building 4 of them, which means that Yamato cannon feels like something that maybe would be worth it, even if he only keeps 2 or 3 of them alive. The ground army is still dangerous. It's 1-1 versus soon-to-be 1-1. The Contaminate delayed slightly. He does have a lot of production. And in fact, soon Uthermal will have more army supply than Lambo can even build at once, with 84 drones on the field. So, a huge counterattack is sent out. Uthermal just dancing at the front. Unfortunately, the Zerglings, there's no wall and no one in the bunker, which means the Zerglings will overrun the Marines, the siege tank, and then the Banelings will also be here, though a little bit disjointed. Banelings, okay. The SCVs. That looks like some of us in the wreckage, brothers. Some of the SCVs are, Banelings trying to figure out what to do with their surprisingly long lives, but on the other side, Uthermal looking the other way. The medevacs were pulled back. The battlecruisers will jump forward. Where are you going? The tactical Blanc. And he jumps to the northern base, which does drag the Corruptors. The battlecruisers will die. 2-2 is now on the way for Uthermal. He still has a lot of supply and some beautiful spreads. I can't believe it's not butter. Battlecruisers knocked down. The hatchery at 20% HP. Can maybe split off a drop, and despite everything, I think, well, Lambo definitely has the advantage, but he doesn't have a hive done. He has a +2 carapace advantage as well. Uthermal really needs those 2-2 upgrades, but I don't know if Lambo's going to let him have the opportunity. A few siege tanks moving up, but it's pure Marine tank medevac at this point. And the numbers don't lie. They could easily spell disaster for the marksman. Two closing in, but it's not done yet. The Queen's drawing fire. Lings and Banes at either side. Corruptors over the top. The Marines will spread back, but they're running out of ground to give. G. The triple G from Uthermal. I don't think he's talking about Giant Grant games, though always worth discussing. Unfortunately, the battlecruisers were a flamboyant, dramatic, and ultimately futile attempt to keep the Zerg off guard, and Lambo eventually pulls it all together and hammers the point home. Youth Thermal again. And, honestly, it both looked good and completely useless at the same time. So, mission failed successfully, or something like that. But wait, there's more. Another one. Now, everyone's favorite, the most strategical of all matchups. Terran versus Terran. In the top left, as his native Terran, we have Thermal. And in the bottom right, it's Kelajor. Another very creative Protoss. Why did I say Protoss? This must be investigated. No, was it a slip? The Protoss mind virus is infesting us all. Cut your nerve cords today. Oh, Jimmy, that was just weird. Edit it. Now Thermal gonna do the novel strategy of proxying his base in his base. Clearly in... Oh, the main base is huge. Alright, clearly they modeled it after your mother, but... There's a lot of space in the quarters, in doors and corners. That's where they get you. But... There's a chance that Kelajor just... Well, nobody's SCV scouting, so... That's kind of irrelevant. But if he did, or sends out a Reaper and gets up the ramp, there's no buildings there. So... Where are you going? Well, there's an SCV being sent out, but this is not for scouting. Proxy Factory? No. Proxy Command Center. It's a hidden command center in the top right corner. As Thermal angling for the bingo strategy to start things off. Well, and just gonna try to mask it at home. You get a little leeway in TVT usually, as the units are so dangerous to each other. The early Reaper Heli, and then Cyclones, and then Ravens. Like, having a slight high ground advantage, or the jump, just for a split second, with any of these units, means you can just win the game sometime. So that means it would be surprising to see Kelazor commit to a big attack without at least some information. He'll spot the Reaper, immediately turns around. I think he got far enough up the ramp to see that there was no barracks there. There's clearly a barracks, there's a Reaper, so I can do that. Oh, sure, another command center, why not? Nothing masks your hidden second command center like a very quick third command center cosplaying a second command center. So, there is that. Yep, they can jump. Wait a second. Awkwardly, well, outflanked from his own base, the Reaper will be driven out into the unit's lost tab. 2 Hellions are about to pop out. But from where? I think he just gave away the factory placement. The Reaper trying to run, gets taken out, and gets both. Wow, what a kill. Well juggled. He actually timed out those Hellion shots perfectly. And if he hadn't microed it, the Reaper would have gotten away to tell its friends. I think they might know anyways. But now what? You know he has a factory, and he's building Hellions, which usually indicates your opponent is going for tech, because they're desperately saving their gas for something. But I think it's just because he only has minerals to work with. He was on 1 gas. Well, yeah. Kelajor technically scouted that. Now he's staying all pulled into his base. Thermal is now mining. Oh, from the top right corner. I'm just gonna land this. He's not gonna build a planetary there. He didn't start the orbital. He's just gonna make sure it's landed as soon as possible, I guess. Transfer the SCVs. Raven is on the way. So, Raven, a force multiplier that can pay dividends, but if not used well, is a complete waste. Most units can at least do something, but a Raven that is not in the right place at the right time is a big investment that does not pay off at all. A second factory. Yeah, I'm just, like, I'm doing production tab commentary because this entire set of games today has been completely and utterly unpredictable. So if that was the challenge, success. Like, Uthermal has completely succeeded in subverting every expectation I might have had of any of these matchups. Like, Mass Hellion Raven against a much more conventional words. Ugh. How do they work? Siege tank sort of push. There's interference matrix on the way. You scan, like, it's not that much, but it's also too much simultaneously. The Raven is out. The Cyclone's out of position to block it. So definitely doesn't want to waste it. The Cyclone targeting the Raven. Breaks the lock out of vision. The Hellion's trying to stay out of siege tank range. Mostly successful. Juggles. Targets the Viking. But the Viking will take down the medevac. How many Hellions does it take to get to the center of a Cyclone? Knocks out the Raven. And this feels like it could have gone great for Uthermal, but he kind of stumbled across the finish line, loses all of his air units, and now is fighting Cyclone Siege Tank with Hellions and SCVs, which he actually has the SCVs to use, which Kelazor might not realize because he has not scouted that top right corner. He's just trickling out Hellions and Ravens, and now there's barely any anti-air. The SCVs can be pulled. Drop some very ambitious mules at this exact base. Probably should have been in the main. The SCV's pulled off the line. The tank will be roasted. And despite everything, Uthermal actually survives and has a worker lead, which is certainly not what Kelazor is expecting at this stage. I think Uthermal's done an incredible job of masking that base in the top right. But what did it cost? Almost everything. He lost a Raven, a Viking, 16 Hellions, 10 SCVs. He did stall out the push. He does now have an interference matrix for locking down mechanical units. Oh, sure, a Ghost Academy. Let's throw that one in there. Because there is almost no more useless unit against this composition than Ghosts. Unless he's really just going to go nukes. Which is certainly... Well, the Liberator Siege is up, and the only anti-air, the Ravens. Oh, this is not good. This is bad. The orbital command, the main advantage for Uthermal is the command centers, and it burns. Oh, it is a absolute disaster. There is a Ghost on the way, but why? It's not gonna have Cloak. I feel like he may be jumping the proverbial shark here with the Ghost. The Hellions and Raven? Okay, maybe, but... Interference Matrix? Auto Turret? The Liberator is fighting the Raven, technically. Well, it's not fighting the Raven, it's bullying the Raven while the Auto Turret takes it out. And if Uthermal had kept the base alive, and he clearly just... There was too much going on. If he still had that third orbital command, I think he'd be in an okay spot. But he doesn't. And he didn't. And he isn't. The Kelazor has a third now. Similar worker count. He is clearly somewhat confused by what exactly he's dealing with. But it also clearly doesn't matter enough. As he stayed the course. Yeah, that lack of third command center is now going to be flipped on its head. It was working for Uthermal when he had it, but now the times of plenty have ended. 3 more factories on the way. The drop... Is he gonna snipe? I guess you could EMP medevacs and snipe Marauders. Technically. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it is one of the things you can do. Sure. Gonna just slap down another command center over to the, we'll call that the 3 o'clock. The Raven count is high enough, and if you interference matrix the Ravens, they can't drop or boost, or pick up. So wait a second. The auto turrets will take it down. The ghosts will try to participate. But he just waits out the interference matrix, which disables all abilities. Unfortunately, now the Ravens are just very fancy paperweights. And not even that, they fly. Hellions were rallied out. The army caught them on the way across. And new thermal supply has been incredibly high. Some might even say remarkably so throughout all this. But finally, I think it's too little and too late. Wow, there were so many times in this game where maybe he actually could have made this unit composition work. I'm a little disappointed that he didn't keep the third base alive. This was one of the most interesting ones so far. And the ghosts are not even... They felt like trolling, but there's a place, I think. Unfortunately, that was just too many different angles coming together too quickly. Kalashur just... And they're doing something weird. Go fucking kill him. The old adage, Sun Tzu said that after quoting Day 9, I believe. Which I thought was pretty crass, but, you know, whatever gets the point across. Well. Oh, wait, we're not done. There's one more. One cheese to rule them all. And in the darkness, ferment. Should clean that up. But hopefully you're not too lactose intolerant, and if you made it this far, I don't think you are. So hopefully you enjoyed. And make sure to check out Uthermal's video. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but I know, well, if many of you have probably seen some of those, at least a couple. And I think he's going to be describing his intricate and disgusting and beautiful thought process in a much more detailed way. Whereas all I can do from the outside here is both appreciate and be confused by it. And now, we're back to Geralt. Again with the Terran. A Barracks, Proxy, in kind of an odd location. Reapers. Technically could be Marauder. It's still pretty far out, but the probe will come across the map. Again, it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to have to check whether he played random or told his race. I have to believe he's either picking race. I'm pretty sure he's picking. Because Geralt clearly built a setup for Terran. Like, he knows that he's Terran. So, though there's something to be said for the random advantage, I think what Uthermal wants is just to be able to vary the strategies. A content creator. Okay. And you don't want... When you play random and you don't tell your race, people just do the most, somewhat ironically, random things. Now, they usually don't do as random things as proxying a Barracks in the face and going ghosts. He's gonna get cloak. Now, Geralt is scouring. He knows there's no Barracks. He's already got the Cyber Core on the way. He's not getting super greedy. And the Zealot, if he sees the Ghost Academy, the map is dark and full of Terrans. Honestly, if he sees the lack of factory, he blocks the factory with a pylon, and he's just sending the Zealot across. Oh no. And Uthermal starts the factory. I feel... Wait. So if you EMP probes... ghosts only take 2 shots to kill probes. Right, they are actually incredibly good against probes. You don't even need cloak. And he's not going to hide this. Here he goes. Oh, he didn't hit the Nexus, so he could recall. But already 4 probes dead. And probes are no good against ghosts. They're almost as fast, and they're arguably way more furious. He chrono boosts the Stalker because he's already fighting on the other side. The time for recalling is already passed. It's 8 probes dead. Terrible, terrible damage already. They do so much. And the ghosts, they have more HP since the patch a few months ago. And he can just do it. Like, here's another one. Is he waiting on the EMP? He can wait for the shield battery. He's waiting till the shield battery finishes. And he EMPs it. Though he could recharge it with the Nexus. 16 probes! The SCVs have to defend at home, but you know, that's not a unique experience in this game. Is this working? Citizen, stop right there, criminal scum! Oh my. It's working! Who needs cloak? Just walk up and shoot him. You know, I always felt like that was a design flaw with the Protoss. Another EMP! He hits all the he can just fight the Stalker. Wow, Stalkers suck. Oh, that last trickle of shield battery energy. It wasn't enough. Oh no. Gee! I don't blame him. Oh my. Oh, I'd have to get a blood pressure check after that one. Oh. And it just kind of works. It just works. And it wasn't even cloak. He just walked in with the ghost. Washed away the shields and blasted. Anyways, he started blasting. Well, certainly hope you enjoyed. Make sure to check out Uthermal's video, where I'm sure it'll be twice as entertaining and twice as educational. Edutaining, if you would. But I hope this made your day a little bit better. Let me know if you want to see more of this style of video. This was the only way we were going to make a video of normal length while still including the theme. So kind of bounced around, but I feel like that fit the theme as well. So hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you to our meal tier patrons, Big Jiggy, Devin Door, Kate, Mario, Suit. Glad you still enjoyed, everyone. And make sure to check out this video that Jimmy picked out, and your thermals. And I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay cheesy.